Welcome to the matriarch method where power meets purpose, wisdom leads by example, and women run the show. Hello,
What's
ladies.
what's going on, ladies? How is everyone?
It's going.
It's going.
It's definitely going. It's crazy. Just seeing I think right now, to me at least, social media is really like active with competitive stuff right
Yeah.
now. Ashley's deep in prep right now. You can see it on her face, and it's like
You can feel it in your soul.
and feel it in your soul, and it's a little crazy.
Yeah, we're here. We're here. Like it's one of those days where like after two, like energy just like vaporized. And I was like, okay, well, do what you can.
Yeah, for
Yep.
sure.
But Liz, what's going on with you?
Just working, trying to make it all happen,
I love
living
it.
the life.
You said Kevin added cardio back in. Is it like a formal step goal or is it like a heart rate goal?
So he bumped my steps just up to my steps were really like the goal was really low before, like 6,000. So he bumped that to 7,000. And then I have four cardio sessions, 150 calories each. So just quick little,
Quickie? A little in and out.
well, and actually I'm actually like really enjoying it. It's kind of funny because like the last time I did cardio was in October, maybe like in my prep. And at that point, it was like 700 calories, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So like to just like hop in and do 150, I'm like, I actually like this.
You're just like zip.
Nice. It only like feels good. I'm like, I'm not miserable. So it's nice.
150 is like a little baby,
Yeah.
like a little baby.
Yeah,
Enough to
yeah,
just
like
like
a
get those endorphins. And then you're like, huh, all right, I'm done.
that's
Yeah,
right.
for sure.
Yeah. But we did that because I am working the desk job. And before that, I was like doing the dog walking and everything. So it was like such a drastic change from what I was doing before to what I'm doing now. So just needed to
Right.
get things evened out a little bit.
hmm
That's
Well, that's
awesome.
sick. That's sick. I have like 5 days of cardio right now. I just started growing, but Mike didn't take out my cardio, so I just been doing it. I don't know. Maybe that's supposed to be there. So I just have been doing it all week.
That's nice. That's nice. Cardio is daily. But speaking of like nice, Britt, your glutes are amazing.
Thank you. I feel, are you over exaggerating? Or are you like really think that
No,
they're nice?
no,
Okay,
no.
cool.
They've come up, especially because like you have to realize that like I've known you since like 2019. Like you were one of the people that inspired me to like want to compete. You and Miranda, since I knew you both from OU,
hmm
and to just like see your body transform and see your life and mind transform has been like really cool as your friend. But I also know that obviously as you transition into competing for sure and wellness, like I'm sure you probably had a little bit of imposter syndrome to where it's like, can I do this? Because I know people like gave you a fuck ton of shit, but it's like I am really proud of you. I am.
Yeah, I mean, that was wild actually. For the listeners at least to hear about it. Like when I first announced I was transitioning to wellness, I got like roasted for it. I mean, like people were in my NGL, like, don't fucking do that. Like you're not wellness. You need like you're too small. You were too small for figure. Like it was like crazy. It just was like, oh, that's how you guys feel. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like it's okay because when I hit my top sets, like all of that is just ringing in my ear and ringing in my head. It's not the best like form of like channeling, like because I'm not trying to channel like negativity, but
Yeah.
that shit like was just like nuts to me. Because now like nobody can really say anything because now it's happening. Because I mean I'm not gonna lie to you. A few months ago I was like, should I even do this? Like, am I gonna make the progress I need to by next year? Because I want to get on stage next year. By next year, am I gonna have to take another year off? Like, I don't have time for that shit. Like, I need to prep. Like, I need to continue to have my body used to what is going on. And ultimately I need to keep learning. That's my goal is to keep learning. And so I was just like, damn, like these bikini girls are getting big as fuck. Like, imagine what wellness is gonna be like. And I started getting in my head. And then just this past, I think, couple weeks, it's been like, whoa. Like, and I haven't even, and it's just from doing a little cleanup that you can see what's going on underneath everything. And I only dropped like 8 pounds, and you can definitely see tie-ins and stuff. So I'm going back into another growing phase, and hopefully one more big one right before we prep next year. But it's just crazy because it's like at first I didn't I didn't listen to people, but I was just like, "Oh, I guess I'll get done what I can. You
Yeah,
know, I'll do this for me instead of doing it for bodybuilding or for a division." And that's all that mattered. And now it's like, oh God, like it's actually happening. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
you're welcome. You're welcome. I think it's actually kind of a good segue into like our episode topic of kind of talking about perfectionism and deciding when good enough is actually good enough. Because I know that's something that all three of us have struggled with, not only as athletes, but especially as coaches, when it's like wanting to service at a high level and having high expectations of your performance,
Hmm.
but then almost losing yourself in that, expectation. Because at the end of the day, it's like when you are your own boss, it's like that can be a blessing and a curse because, like, you have to have this level of, service because you are, again, like wanting to not only grow, but obviously retain your clients. And you have such high standards that, like, you can easily lose yourself in the idea of perfectionism and kind of like feeling constantly less and like you're never good enough. And in a way, it's good to continue to raise the standards, but you can't like continue to raise the standards also without giving yourself like an atta girl.
Yeah, imagine if like you never gave yourself to get on stage or to create something that you wanted to, because or never finished it because it's not to you, it's not good enough yet. Then you miss all those opportunities to see what you are actually capable of. And it's something that can hold you back, especially in business and coaching. Like I tell people, for perfectionists, it is because I would be considered like a perfectionist. Like I'm pretty, I don't want to say controlling. I don't know what the word is. Like I don't know what the word is, but I tend to just be like, yeah, that could be better. Give me something better. I need to do something better. It's not enough. Like, and when you're owning a business that requires your own creativity, and then also one that a ton of other people are doing their own way, this shit is hard. Like it's hard on your psyche. So you have to continue to find ways to ground yourself so that you don't like lean into that perfectionism and ultimately imposter syndrome. We've talked about that already. But if you're leaning into perfectionism, it's likely that you're also leaning into some form of imposter syndrome at the same time. Because the two kind of work together in a way. Um, and it develops at a young age, but it can get worse in this game, and owning your own business, because just there's so much to compare yourself to. There's
Mhm.
just so much there, but really you need to be comparing yourself to yesterday, not whoever else is doing what they're doing.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think we're all pretty like goal oriented to the point where like we reach one goal, then we're immediately like, well, what's next? We
Yeah.
don't stop to just like be like, oh, like I did that, I accomplished that. And I think if you can just, it's great to set those new goals, but also just stop and give yourself that little pat on the back, the recognition of even just looking back the past year, 3 years, 5 years, like how much have you grown as a coach, as a
Mhm.
competitor, whatever, realm we're speaking in here is, I mean, if I look at where I was at in coaching 5 years ago, it's night and day difference, and yeah, I still have so many things that I wanna accomplish and learn and do, but, you know, the comparison to where I was before is a huge difference.
Mhm. I think it's really important to kind of lean back on your why, whether you're, a coach, an entrepreneur, even bodybuilder. It's like, why are you doing this? And that is to get better, to raise the standard,
Mhm.
and to be proud of what you have built. It never ends. And it's something where if you are extremely results focused, you're waiting for that project due date to get your 100%, right? But in the grand scheme of life, like the due date is death because that's when it ends.
Mhm.
right? But the thing about being an entrepreneur, owning a business is you get to keep improving. You get to keep raising the standard. And like B was saying, like compare yourself to yesterday. Like Liz said, like 5 years ago, right? It's not about being perfect. It's about getting better. And the best thing to do, in my opinion, to kind of learn to let go of these unrealistic ideals is to one, recognize that this is a process and you need to let time do its part. But then also like checking yourself because while standards should be high, because like you don't want to half-ass shit, at least like if you're listening to us, hopefully you don't. But
Mhm.
you also want to make sure that you're checking yourself, along the way to where it's like, are these standards too unrealistic to the point where they're causing damage and actually limiting growth and progress when it comes to like, especially your owning a business, but also like if you're a bodybuilding athlete, it's like, making sure that you don't set the bar too high where it's just out of reach for anyone, let
Mhm.
alone you. Like, you have to understand your human limitations.
Yeah, and I think something, like, really important to hit on is that, like, when you're a perfectionist, you have to understand or, like, when you're engaging in that behavior, I don't wanna, like, ascribe the identity of perfectionist to anyone, even myself after this, um, because it does have a negative connotation,
Mhm,
but engaging in that causes you to judge yourself so hard.
mhm,
Um, and that is where the toxicity lies within this, is that you're looking at yourself in ways that other people are not looking at you. And you sit there and you're thinking that that's what's happening. And it's a it's a prison that is in your own mind that is really difficult to get out of, especially if you're detail oriented. You think like me, I think everybody's looking at details that they're not they can't even perceive it. Like, you know what I'm saying? These things are nice touches when you bring it to the forefront of people's attention, but most people are not going to be looking up and down things that you haven't. Like, when Ashley just complimented my physique, I was like, "Are you being serious?" You know why? Because I judge myself so hard.
mhm,
And that realization for me is going to help me change the way that I see myself, not because she looks at me differently than I view myself, but watching my own reaction in that. You saw it in real time, like, you guys listened to it in real time. These are things that we all struggle with.
mhm.
But it's identifying the behavior and how it does not serve you. So, like, perfectionism can not help you, I'm sorry, it can make you procrastinate.
Yep.
Procrastination is detrimental toward a business owner, especially a results focused industry. You can't procrastinate. You can't, like, because the thing is that there's once you hit a goal, it's like congratulations, and you're looking at what's next, right? Like Liz said, like, it's the next thing. And it's not that what happened before doesn't matter. Like, you can definitely celebrate it, but at the end of the day, like, you're living in right now. And what right now matters, like, what matters now is going to be what comes up. And so this is you have to be a tough bitch to do this, I'm telling you. Um, and it's definitely not for the weak, but it's not unreasonable or undoable. You just have to have really good boundaries, so that you don't judge yourself as hard as you are. So,
Yeah, it's like Ash said, like, no, you don't wanna put, like, a shit product out there or anything, but if you wait till something is, like, perfect in your mind, like, that might never come because 'cause you're so hard on yourself, and if we compare it, like, as coaches, we know people think this all the time, like, in your fitness journey, people always say, "Oh, I'll wait till, vacation's over. I'll wait till I save a little bit more money. I'll wait till," like, people just come up with random ass shit, of, like, "I'll wait to start my fitness journey till XYZ." And there's always gonna be XYZ. There's always gonna be these things that can get in the way, but you have to work around that, and it's gonna be the same in our businesses too. You just have to navigate around it, and there's never gonna be that perfect time to start or to execute on it.
like, you know how you brought up 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Like, where you at 5 years ago? You know what I was doing 5 years ago in coaching? You know where I was at? Nowhere. I had no athletes. I had no clients. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. I was overly adherent to my bodybuilding program that should not have been my entire world, should have been a hobby. Was not making any money off of it. I was nowhere. So like if you sit back and you think about, where you were at in 2020, this is 2025 when you're listening to this. Um, think about that person back then, and would that person be proud of where you're at today?
Thrilled.
Mhm.
But obviously, when you get caught up in perfectionism, it can be heartbreaking. Like,
Mhm.
it can be so soul destructing to chase something that you'll never get,
Mhm.
right? And then it eats away at your soul, and that was something where, like, I had a really hard time, and I've been working with my therapist on this because, like, I used to be like, "Oh, I'm type A perfectionist, ha ha." It's not ha ha. It's, like, to the point where you're crying and sobbing because of how hard you are on yourself, and that's not tough. That's not badass. That is, in its own way, a derailment of procrastination because now you can't function due to your own cruelty, and I feel like a lot of us, especially females, where it's like we have this fear of failing that, like B mentioned, kind of is instilled when we are younger, absolutely, due to unrealistic standards that are maybe modeled by our parents or society or whatever, but usually it's just like we want to be better, and somewhere along the way, we confuse being better for being perfect and being a good little girl, and it's just from this fear of failing and letting ourselves down, and at the end of it, there is a lesson to be learned of falling short of your goal, and that is evaluation, right? It is understanding, like, why did this happen? Was my goal unrealistic in the first place? Or do I have areas that I get to be better to grow? Right. So it's like being afraid to fail, failure is your biggest teacher.
Mhm.
Right? If you were successful at every single thing, we'd all have 100 athlete rosters. We would all be IFBB pros. We'd all have BBL booties that are pure muscle and not like silicone. We'd all have big old fake titties that are just amazing. Or we wouldn't even have to like there'd be no fucking point. There would be no point. And
Mhm.
life would lose meaning.
We see what you value, Ashley.
Listen, I was so proud of my titties. And I was proud of my truck and my student loans. Getting
I'm
that paid
sorry.
off before
I know
30, that was it.
I know we're serious right now. You said a couple of things that I was just like the good little girl. I was like, "Whoa."
I mean, that was me. Like, I
I
thought I had to be good so that way I would be safe. My family would be safe,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
I get that. I think that like perfectionism it's like one of the most glorified and misunderstood
Mhm.
forms of self-sabotage,
Yep.
right? Like especially for women who coach and lead and do things that are, I don't want to say abnormal, but against societal norms
Yep.
for what women do, because it wears this mask of discipline,
Mm.
and it's like it pretends to be a standard,
Yep.
but it's often rooted in shame, guilt, comparison, needing to feel like you're earning your word, like feeling worthy. And it's like it's not really having high standards.
Mhm.
It's just the fear of being seen doing something that's not perfect.
Mhm.
Um, and so in that it can be like just really tied to approval, and that in that you're not doing this for the right reasons.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? You're not doing it for you. You're not doing it because you're passionate about it. Like I over the past like couple of weeks just becoming like a little bit more self-aware than I already am. Thinking about how much I did not know 5 years ago and how much I didn't care what I put out on social media. How much I did not overthink things. I was just like, this is gonna help people. Let me post that. Let me do that. And as you learn more, it's harder and harder to manage your own tendencies with perfectionism, because your mind and knowledge expands, and so it's easier for you to be like, that's not right, actually I do it that way, actually that like maybe I should say it in that way.
Mhm.
Try not to do that, because at the end of the day, especially in in today, everyone's using fucking chat gpt for everything. Everyone sounds the fucking same now. It's crazy. Be like, post stuff and put things out there that are from you, because now I can tell a fucking difference. I can tell the difference between like somebody who wrote something on their own versus somebody who utilized like something that is inherently perfect. I can tell the difference now. And I think that's going to be a really big breaking point once others are able to see it too, in the coaching industry, that you always have to lean on who you are, and who you are is not going to be perfect. It's just not. So that's all I got to say about that.
I agree. I agree. Liz, what are your thoughts?
No, I agree with that. And I think, especially with women who have ADHD, I think this is something that happens a lot is, it gets missed a lot in younger girls, and there's a lot of adulthood diagnoses. Words are hard. But what happens a lot is that as kids and teens, we're seen as like the gifted ones, and then the struggles don't start popping up until later in life. And I know that's what happened with me, as I was like the genius in like elementary school, middle school, into early high school. And then at some point in like high school is when the symptoms started popping up and getting harder for me. But because that first part of my life, everyone always like praised me for being perfect, for being so well behaved. Ash, like you were saying, like the good girl. And then when some of that stuff started slipping away, that was really hard for me. And I think that's something that, we kind of battle ourselves against, is like trying to get back to that perfection or that praise that people were giving us before too. And I think that shows up in coaching and in bodybuilding a lot as well.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to no longer feel fear failure without self-awareness, like Brittany was saying. Like the power is like understanding and accepting that like you fell short of a goal, and like you can't change it. Like you can't rewind the clock and bippity boppity boo your way through life and like fix it. Like there's no like undo redo button. So like embrace it, right? Because when you embrace that, that actually decreases resistance, right? And that also inspires you to take action and initiate change, right? But you can only do that when you have a level of self-awareness as well as the drive and discipline to again get better. But it's something where it's like, if you take the path of, oh, I failed again, see, this is why I shouldn't even try, it's like you're missing the point. Like there are important and powerful lessons to kind of losing to your quote unquote demons, right? Because you learn, you grow, and it helps you to reevaluate and take a step back to where it's like helping to lower your standards helps you to stay in the game longer without just completely giving up. Like there was, we have quote unquote like classes of, coaches where it's like people that we thought were hanging, they're no longer hanging. And
Dude. Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
in a way it's sad because like you again, it's kind of like you grow up together, like you're in the same graduating class, but you have a lot of dropouts because
Mhm.
they stopped. They gave up. They couldn't hang. And I know that sounds really disrespectful, but maybe they pivoted, right? And that's something where it's like, yeah, they failed in coaching, but what else are they now excelling at? Because coaching wasn't for them. Right. But if there's like, oh, I'm a failure, this sucks, like fuck coaching, or even the people that are like, oh, bodybuilding messed me up, it's like you have to take ownership and responsibility over your part to play. So then that way you can actually decide what is good enough for you in your life and still continue to create rather than continuing to find comfort in your own criticism where nothing gets done.
I think too, like, for the type of people, because I was writing something today about the type of people that tend to be gravitated toward bodybuilding or gravitated toward coaching. Um, many many of us started bodybuilding, and I'm saying that like between us because we're all bodybuilders, but I'm sure there's a lot of bodybuilders that are going to listen to this because there's a lot of coaches that are also bodybuilders. A lot of women be they get into bodybuilding because they find safety in the structure that comes with it. And that same structure can be very rigid and it can show up in never missing a check-in, obsessing over protocols. You know what I'm saying? Like feeling like a failure if a client like doesn't succeed if you're a coach, stuff like that. Blaming yourself. Like I've gone through that too. Blaming yourself when you don't get the result that you need. These we have to remember what type of people that we are and why we were gravitated towards something in the first place, and not to like judge ourselves within it, but just to become aware of it and say like, hey, this is likely a behavior of mine. How is it showing up and how is it not helping me?
Yeah, I
Um,
think passing judgment versus staying curious,
mhm,
that is a very powerful move.
mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember too that progress isn't linear. You know, we say that all the time in like fitness journeys and stuff. Again, a lot of these things can be like drawn or in a parallel to someone's bodybuilding or fitness journey, but same with coaching. You might have really busy seasons or what you consider successful times, and then you might have slower times or times where you feel like things aren't going as great. But there's going to be those ups and downs, and it's just continuing and not giving up, even when it feels like you're in one of those down periods and just pushing yourself through that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the idea of like downs don't last forever, right? And also it's like your perception, again, kind of going back to how you define success. And it's like, okay, well, things aren't popping off on your roster. It's like, assess and evaluate. Like, why am I not getting inquiries? Like, is it a content issue? Is there an issue in the world with like finances? Is my service not a high level product, right? It's like go back to the drawing board, but don't be like, oh, freaking suck, have a knee jerk reaction and start doing sales, right?
Mhm.
Or doing things that discount your worth and your product, right? If it is high. Now, granted, if you're like, oh, I'm not getting signups and also not getting referrals, when you're
Mhm.
getting a lot of drop offs, it's like, okay, well, maybe it isn't a you issue. So, in which case, great. That's information, that's data. But again, don't be like, oh, I'm a piece of crap. It's, oh, I need to elevate my game. So now I need to invest in mentorships, or maybe I need a better back end, or like whatever the solution is. But you have to find that solution with clarity. And if you are just calling yourself names and down in the dumps, like you're likely not going to get the right solution. You're just going to continue to kind of like berate yourself. So it's like, feel what you need to feel. It sucks losing athletes. It sucks when things are slow, but go to the drawing board and have like the ability to face facts brutally without like losing yourself.
I think it's important to note too that even when you do find the answers, like you said, like is it a back end issue? Is it an education issue? Is it a communication issue? Is it something like that? Once you figure out the answer, it's still going to take time.
Yep.
Like you're still going to sit in that for a while. Like I've been there. Like where you're just kind of sitting in it until you're like, okay, like I'm getting these things together. It doesn't happen right away. This is why people drop off because they cannot deal with the pressure of waiting and like listening to your inner voice. Like part of being feminine as a leader or a matriarch, if you want to call that, is understanding how perfectionism is rooted in a lot of masculine energy and order and linearity and performance, right? So we're females in a very masculine driven environment. So it's already difficult because naturally that's not necessarily where our bodies and souls are going to thrive. We're going to thrive a little bit more on receptivity, on our intuition, on collaboration, like we're doing right now. And that's a more feminine way to lead and coach, but then also live. And so a lot of people that cannot really embrace themselves in their feminine have a really fucking hard time sitting things out when they're not going their way. And that's why so many people, so many women especially, like, will drop off in this because they are naturally perfectionists. They're naturally like type A or whatever you want to call it. They're naturally very linear. And in business, it's not like that. Like it's so many things that are going on. Sometimes it's linear and it's really comfortable when it's linear, but you're going to find more that things are all over the place and you're constantly having to fix things more than you are going in a linear direction,
Mhm.
especially if you're doing this by yourself. If you're on a team or you have support in another way, it's different. You have a little bit more of a security blanket. If you're by yourself, it's hard. So,
Yeah. I do think it's like some example of perfectionism is like it causes me to believe that I'm not perfect, so there's no point in bothering to try, or it causes you to give up easily when things don't go your way the first time. Like I remember being so frustrated when I was like brand new to something and I was like, "Oh, I can't even do it." It's like, what's the point of doing it again? It's like I lost out on the idea of fun. And that's something that Brittany has been really good for me, where it's like she reminds me to have fun and to play, right? But curiosity, playfulness, fun cannot exist under the lens of criticism and judgment in a way that is deliberately neglectful, right? And something where it's like judging yourself harshly to make it easier to isolate. Like, that's something where, again, it is kind of rooted in self-sabotage and a little bit of self-hatred, right? So you think that your perfectionism gives you safety, your perfectionism is actually your prison. It's the reason why you can't create or be free or be who you envision yourself to be because you have chains around your, feet and your hands. And so it's like learning to identify maybe the benefits of being detailed oriented and having high standards and leaning on those versus being like, oh, I have to be perfect because
mm,
you'll never get there. Now,
mhm.
you can be good enough, you can accept good enough, and you can be happy and have fun and play and yada, yada, yada. But it's like until you break loose of that prison, your entrepreneurial journey, your coaching journey, hell, even your bodybuilding journey is going to feel like a nightmare instead of you creating your dream.
Yeah, there's kind of like this false binary of like all or nothing.
Mhm.
In this, it's like if it's not 100%, it's failure.
Yep.
But that thing can lead to what is burnout
Yep.
and shame spirals. Because remember, like you're in basically a praise loop
Mm,
all the time. You're in a praise loop. So society's going to praise the perfect woman, the good girl that's organized or high achieving, never resting. And that validation that you get from that, it can become addictive. Like I've been in that where I've been praised for constantly being like, go, 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 taking on a ton of athletes at a time, stuff like that. You do more, you give more, and you don't have anything for yourself.
mhm,
And then like you start projecting that perfectionist coaches, they're often going to project that mindset onto their clients. Do you know how unhelpful that shit is to them? I've lost athletes because of that.
yep,
You know what I'm saying? Like I had to grow. I had to grow out of it. Um it you'll start thinking that if your client doesn't do this way, they don't want it that badly.
mhm,
And that's trauma. Like that's traumatizing. That's not coaching. So you want to like be able to encourage grace-based leadership over performance while also holding your athletes and clients to a standard that actually benefits them.
mhm,
You have to meet them where they're at. And perfectionists cannot meet people where they're at. They're going to meet you where they're at as much as they meet themselves where they're at. And perfectionists don't meet themselves where they're at.
mhm.
So,
Exactly. Exactly. I actually had a client inquiry where she signed because I told her, like, she was asking a bunch of questions because you can tell that some of these women are like so anxious and so, like Britt said, traumatized from other coaches that they're like, do you offer meal plans or macros? Or do I only have one option? It's right. It's like small minded and old way of coaching where it's either or. And I was like, we do what makes sense for you. And she's
mhm,
like, what about your flexibility in the off season? Like I haven't gone to dinner since December. And this woman has been in her off season. Like, she's never been in a prep before. So I'm like, you have not gone out to dinner with your family since
mhm,
December. I was like, that's a problem. I was like, before you even send over your paperwork and sign with me, I need photo proof of you out to dinner with your husband and your family. Like,
mhm.
you don't need to make yourself sick. You don't need to order something that's like astronomical, but I need to see you out living life because that tells me that you're ready to actually change the way that you live your life and the way that you represent bodybuilding. Right? And, like, that got her to sign because she felt safe and she felt seen. And as a coach, you need to understand as well that like your clients are not robots. You are not a
Mhm.
robot, right? They are not perfect. They are going to mess up. You are not perfect. You are going to mess up. And that mess up is part of your growth. It is part of how you learn and adapt and change. And again, get better consistently. And again, it's not going to be linear. It's not about being like the best, the quickest. It's about
Mhm.
being better each and every day. So that way, yesterday's self, thank you. And your future self will be like, I'm proud of you.
Right. The the easiest way, I don't this isn't a competition, but we're talking about people that like drop off and can't handle the pressure of all of this and all that, right? Like the easiest way to make it to the top is going to be just simply showing up.
Mhm.
And when you're simply showing up, you want to have high standards, but if you're simply showing up, you're going to 365 days out of the year, in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a thought, I don't care how you show up, it's something. Um, it's not going to be everything you want all the time. Like I thought that since I went off on my own 7 months ago, I was like, I have to win. All of my athletes, they have to win their shows. They have to win it all. They have to win it. They have to win it. They have to win it. And then I had one that didn't, and I was like, fuck, my streak's gone. Like, and I have to remember my goal was to put one more person on stage than I did the previous year.
Mm.
And that I have done that consecutively for 3 years now since I've started putting people on stage, which isn't that long. And most of my athletes, except all of them except one, which was earlier this year, didn't win their class. All of them, like at least once in their season, won their class. So it's like there's so that we have our own standards for ourselves, and once it's like it's nipped, it's like oh shit, everything else that you did isn't there. But that's not true. Because there's still people that are going to really look up to you and respect you for what you have done, and you're sitting there looking down on yourself because it didn't happen the way that you wanted to.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so if you and it, I just like what Ashley said is like just keep showing up. Eventually, if you have something valuable, people are going to want it. People are going to want to be a part of it. So,
I agree. I agree. Liz, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think this kind of goes along really well with like what's been going on with me. I started working another full-time job again, and that was really hard for me to even make that decision because to me it did feel like a step back. It did feel like, oh, like I got to the point where I could go full time. I was able to do that for a couple years, and then I had to go back to working another job again. But it goes back to like progress isn't linear. And if I reflect on where my life was at in just different areas, like when I was able to go full time, there's different pieces that were present that are different now. And I have to look at it and just say, like, okay, well, this has changed and you had to do what you had to do? And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to get back to that spot. And I think that's the important part is not just saying, like, oh, well, that's it. It didn't work out. It's pushing and continuing to work towards that goal again and again, just realizing I can get back there. And I proved to myself that I could before. So I think that's something that a lot of coaches do struggle with is juggling, oftentimes having to work that second job too. And, you know, a lot of times coaches do have to work two jobs. That's kind of the reality of it. But if it is your passion, you're going to make it happen. Yeah, that's something I've been going through lately too. So I totally get it.
Dude, my perfectionism, like, was so bad. It literally caused a deep depression to be triggered. And I had to like literally step away from being a coach, something that was my dream that gave me so much life and purpose because I failed to give myself grace. I held myself to such an unrealistic standard that I had to be medicated because I just did not want to continue living my life anymore. And that is sad when you push your brain and your body to the point where it wants to self destruct just to escape you. That is a very hard reality. And so I picked a job that was so far removed from coaching. I worked at a whiskey distillery. And let me tell you, that part time job was the most fucking fun, even though it was hot. and swampy and humidity, and there was no air conditioning. Like, I had so much fun just shooting the shit. And I'm sober, right? They always gave samplings and tastings. I never took I just I love being one of the guys in the back room. So much fucking fun. And that fun led me to be courageous to try again. Right? So Liz, to you, it's not a failure, it's a pivot. You're doing what needs to be done for sustainability so you can continue to hang. So you're
I
not
think it
burning
allows me
yourself
to
out.
like remain passionate about it too, because I think to a degree in coaching, when it is your bread and butter and it's like the only thing that's making you money, it can get to a point where like you lose the excitement and passion because it just becomes about like, I have to get more clients or I'm not going to survive. And then it's not fun. And then you're not doing it because you want to help people. You're doing it because you got to make money, and that it was kind of getting to that point for me. So I'd much rather have that other job, but I'm actually really loving getting to work with my clients and, looking forward to those check-ins or like, when I do get a new sign up, it's like, I'm excited because I get to help them, not, oh, because I'm gonna pay my bills, that type
Yeah.
of thing. So I think that's important too.
There wasn't a time where I was more, I guess, passionate about coaching because you're not always passionate about, like, I don't care what anyone says. Sometimes you wake up and you're like, fuck. Like, but I was the most excited all the time when I was fighting to go full time. Like when I was fighting hard for it. And then when I was fighting to actually put someone on stage and like say I was a contest prep coach, like when you're fighting for it, like it's a different experience than when you just have it all made for you.
Mhm.
Cause you stop like, well, I don't want to say you stop, but you have these moments where it's normal. Like I remember in 2020, when did I go full time? 2022? Like, when I went full time and I didn't have to go to my full-time job anymore, I woke up every day and I'm starting to feel that way again now as I've healed and stuff like that, and we don't need to talk about it, but, like, I would wake up and I would feel in love.
Mm.
Like, in love with nothing. In love like, so for those of you that have felt love like that, like, when you have nothing, like, not a person to project the love on or take care of, and it's just you, there's something, like, fucking magical about it, and, like, that's how I felt for about a year and a half after I went full-time coaching. After that, and that's a long stint. After that, it was I had to work for the passion that, and I still have to work for the passion that's there to keep helping people because what was normal and what's normal now, like it's the standard for me to be full time and have a certain amount of athletes. But back then, it wasn't the standard. It was new. It was like, oh shit, I get to do this all the time. And now it's like, I gotta coach because if I don't, I can't pay my bills.
Right.
My cost of living was different back then too. So the pressure is much more.
Mhm.
My lifestyle and how I lived was different, So it's just all things to think about throughout your journey. Like you're gonna feel different based on literally your brain chemistry. Like
Yeah, and I think that it can be tough, like, having experienced that, like, that feeling you were just talking about, and like you said, it's not we're all gonna have those periods where it doesn't feel like that.
Yep.
I know for me last year, like, I, like, very clearly remember, like, there was just, like, so many good things going on in life where it was just, like I remember someone, when people are like, "Oh, living the dream," and I was like, "Wait, no, I literally am living the dream right now." I was, like, full-time coaching, I was just starting to prep for my show, and, like, things were just, like, in the perfect moment, but things are gonna adjust and go up and down, and I think it's you kinda chase that after you had it that one time, but you gotta realize, like, sometimes you're gonna lose that feeling for a little bit.
Yeah, that's part of the process, right? That's why it's like, yes, you want to get results because we are in a results focused industry, but you can't be hyper fixated with a death grip on results that you forget to have fun and enjoy the process. Right? Because, like I said, like, we are living our dreams, right? Like, there was one point, whether it was a year ago or 5 years ago, where it's like, I wanna help people, and I want to put athletes on stage, or I wanna help people feel empowered with their health, or help people get pregnant, or help people clear up their skin. Like, I want to do good. And somewhere along the way, we put so much pressure of being perfect that we forget to do good to ourselves. Right. And they can coexist. You can continue to be better and to level up and to have a high standard while being good to yourself. And you will fail consistently. And that is a good reality check for you to be like, hey, where can I be better and learn? Right. So don't go chasing perfection because that's like, a dog chasing its tail. Like, you'll never get it and you wouldn't know what to fucking do with it if you did. Right. It wouldn't be enough.
Mhm. 100%. Lower your standard. I'm just kidding.
Start sucking.
Start being okay with being not good. So
Love
that
that.
that was a joke. That was totally a joke. But yeah, don't lower your standards. Just be kinder to yourself.
Mm, I like that. That's a good mantra. Any final closing thoughts before we kind of wrap up this shindig?
No, that was pretty good.
That was great. That was a perfect podcast.
All of them are perfect. Every single one.
Eric in the background goes, damn, damn. Well, guys, as always, it was great potting with you. Liz, I know the dogs are barking. She texted us. She's like, guys, the dogs are barking. Um, don't worry about it. Liz is perfect and amazing. She gives us a thumbs up. But for any closing remarks before we can kind of conclude?
Nope.
All right.
Just
Oh,
titties.
just titties. Just titties. Ladies, it was great potting with you. This was definitely the highlight of my day. I was dragging ass and like I didn't want to cancel, but I was like, dog, this is going to be a hard podcast. But you know what? Like being in the presence of other female collaborators that I respect and look up to and genuinely love, it gave me a lot of energy. So thank you, ladies, for showing up today, for showing up for yourselves, for showing up for me, because it helped me give me a lot of courage.
You're welcome. You definitely seemed like you were struggling when we first started.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna lie. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, she is hurting. I don't
She's
really know. I
hurt.
was like, I really hope we help her.
You did. And that was the thing of just like, again, like you said, showing up. Right. I had no expectations of this podcast going well for me. I was just like, just show up, just try your best.
That's like the theme of today, though, or today's message. So
Yeah, like literally just try your best and show up. And you know what? It was a very heartfelt podcast, like a lot of good notes, some nuggies from all of us that like even I appreciated. So like I just appreciate ladies. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, you ladies have a great rest of your evening. We'll catch up in 2 weeks and I'm excited for our launch.
Yes. It's crazy because this is like how many episodes is this? Like 9?
This is episode 8, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've recorded that many and it hasn't launched. So when they listen to this, it's gonna be way like
when
it's
did we
crazy.
record the first one?
In like May or no, March.
Oh, I think
It was March, yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. This is how you do it. This
But
is how
that's
you
the
do
thing
it.
is we're still showing up even though it wasn't perfect. Even the launch date wasn't perfect. The things wasn't like we're making it special, but we're not procrastinating because oh, we're scared it's going to be a flop. Like things happen and we pivoted and we adapted and we communicated.
Yep, exactly.
Cool. All right,
But
ladies. I love you. Have a good
love
evening
you.
and we'll catch you next in 2 weeks.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Peace.